Governor Hochul releasing an electric school bus roadmap and guidebook. States requiring all new school buses sold in New York be zero emission by 2027, and all school buses on the road meet this goal by 2035. And joining us now is Central Square Superintendent Tom Calabufo. Tom, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
So I just laid them out, some of the goals there. How realistic are they, would you say?
I would say not realistic at all. You know, we talk about equity across the state, but there are districts like Central Square that have over 200 square miles with over 80 buses and then other school vehicles that not only can we no longer purchase diesel buses in 2027, but the whole entire fleet has to be electric by 2035. And so I think it's really hard for the superintendents because we bond for buses every year. And so for Central Square, it's 10 buses, and that's a referendum vote. So 7 big buses, 3 small buses, and we look at that, and then the goal of that is that we're always getting, you know, our ones with the most mileage, we're putting them, trading them in, and we're getting new ones. But the problem with this timeline is for districts like Central Square that have been doing several capital projects on top of each other year after year to get our buildings where they need to be, to upgrade our safety and security, which we've done. We can't even, with our debt service, we can't even put a vote out, a referendum to our voters for another capital project until 2027. So the problem with that is, we're going to have to start getting electric buses at that time, but then how are we going to power them? One of the really kind of nerve-wracking things is when we went and we had a study done by, it was called Girardin Energy. They work with the company where we always buy our buses. They gave us a whole electronic fleet charging and infrastructure survey. And it showed that we're going to have a significant diesel generator to be able to power our charging stations to be able to go electric.
Now, yeah, Tom. Now, why is that? You have also obviously talked to National Grid about this. What have they told you? I mean, can they supply the power so you don't have to go to a diesel generator?
No, they can't supply the amount of feeding power that this one company told us we're going to need to be able to make this a reality for our whole fleet. So it also works at about peak times. It looks at all of Oswego County, and they've come right out and said, based on the study that this company had done, telling you how much electricity you need, we're not able to provide that much.
Right.
So when I say unrealistic, I just don't understand how Albany and the governor haven't actually had the power companies having a conversation with her office to say, this is what's doable right now, this is what's not doable. So before you put a deadline and start stressing school districts out and they start changing how they bond for buses, that maybe we should figure out, even if they're giving grants, even if they're giving...
I was going to say, is there grant money available from the state, anything like that can help with any of this?
There is, and it starts with the most needy of districts first, which we don't qualify. I assume we'll get there. But even if they were to give us money to be able to buy that first bus, we need the infrastructure in first. And that is going to be millions of dollars to be able to build the infrastructure to be able to bring in all of this electricity and have all of these charging stations. Because again, our district is so geographically large. It's the largest geographic district in the state. So this is a totally different conversation if we're looking at districts in New York City that are mostly on subways and public transportation, or a smaller school district that may have 20 buses instead of 80 buses like we have. But we also have to look at, I've talked to a lot of companies that said there's a problem in sub-freezing temperatures that in some places where it's so cold, they actually have to have diesel heaters on each bus for the ion batteries, which again defeats the whole purpose of trying to, reduce our diesel footprint.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously a lot to discuss there, Tom. I mean, we're kind of running out of time here tonight. So clearly just, I mean, quickly, more timeline than it is the idea of doing it.
So it's adding a lot of worry. We're behind the idea of helping the environment. It's the timeline that's very scary.
Tom, thanks very much. We'll revisit this conversation for sure. Thank you, sir.
Take care.